So this lesson is new age communication. This lesson is a lesson that is near and dear to our heart, and one of the reasons why is because we want to rewrite the narrative on communication within a relationship. We are now in a day and time where it is acceptable for us to text message, DM, email, all of those new age ways of communicating within a relationship. May it be a new relationship, a old relationship, whatever it is, we're in an era where it is acceptable, and we don't feel that it should be acceptable. These ways of communicating should only be done um, at certain times. And those times we're going to go into a lot deeper on later on in this lesson, but we want to just go over. So we broke down a definition here. So new age, the definition is contemporary, it's modern, it's something that's basically new, right? And then communication is a process by which information is exchanged between individuals through a common symbol of
A common
common
system,
system
babe.
of symbols, sorry, signs or behaviors. And so this is why I just got stumbled on this, because my mind was moving faster than my eyes was, right? It's a common system of symbols and signs. And if you look to the right, right to the side, to the left, we have emoji conversations, right? So what is emoji conversations? Emoji conversations is symbols and signs. One can have a whole conversation just with using emojis. You don't have to use any words, any letters, or anything. You can just use emojis. Now, whether that conversation is going to be interpreted the way you want it to be, or am I going to interpret it the way you want it to be interpreted, or are you going to interpret it the way you thought it should be interpreted, is another thing, right? So that's going to differ vastly. But we have to understand that emoji conversation is now, in today's time, a big thing. And so that's why I got stumbled on that. But we're going to really dig into this new age communication thing here. Text messaging. So, what is text messaging? On the left side, you'll see we have some pros to text messaging, and on the right side, you'll see we have some cons to text messaging. So, text messaging pros is quick, it's convenient, it's informative, so it can be used for informative purposes, right? There is no face to face contact needed. And then it allows time for one to think and carefully craft a message. So that can be a negative and a positive. But in this sense, we want it to be a positive. The reason why is because it allows you to think about what you're going to say before you actually say it. Sometimes in the heat of the moment, we don't really think, how is what I'm going to say out my mouth right now going to affect my mate? But with a text message, sometimes we think about it. Um, and sometimes we don't. So that one can be a negative or a positive.
Now for the cons. No face-to-face contact. As you can see, this was also on the pro side. So now this is the con side about it. You don't get to see face-to-face contact. Where face-to-face contact and communication is vital because you want to see the
Body
emotion,
language.
right? The body language, the emotion behind what this person is saying. You can't see that through a text message. The next one is it can get misunderstood. I'm sure everybody's had a text message get misunderstood. Someone thinks they were saying something that they weren't saying. It happens with me. It happens with my wife. It happens with everybody. Just texting something, meaning something, and then
I read it as a different thing.
right, right. Um, Text message con uh can take longer. So the texting someone could actually take longer with the predictive text, and you may misspell something, so you didn't have to spell check it and delete the message, and I didn't want to say it like that. So in some cases it can take longer.
Yeah, and if you're anything like, I know some of our clients, they like quick responses. So some people, if I'm texting you, I want those three dots to poke. I want them three dots to appear right while I'm in that message feed. I want you texting me back immediately. So sometimes it can take longer, which then makes the person on the receiving side angrier because they're waiting on a response, but not getting a response when they think they should get the response.
Right, so then they're getting angry because, see, me, I don't type fast. I type very slow. I like to look at everything, and my fingers are kind of big, so my text messages come back very slow. So that could mess with people.
Right.
So next, it does not allow you to read the body language. Body language is so key when you're talking, when you're communicating. You want to see what type of hand gestures or what type of face gestures your mate or the other person is saying while communicating, because you can get a specific feel. You can get that feel that they were trying to give you when you see that full body language. So with a text message, one of the cons is you can't actually see their body language. This next one is, it says, doesn't allow for on the spot true responses. So basically, via text message, someone can think about a lie, they can conjure up a lie and tell you that lie. Whereas face to face, they can lie to you, but you're looking at their body language. So you can see, okay, he's looking up to the left. He's lying. So with a text message, that's why this is a con. It doesn't allow for someone to have to tell the truth right on the spot.
And not even so much the truth, but anything. You don't have to tell. It doesn't have to be lying or truth telling. But more so just anything. Sometimes, um, when you're having a discussion, if I'm face to face with you, I can give you you can get a direct answer and a true answer. But if I'm text messaging you, I can easily say, "Oh, I didn't hear my phone go off. I didn't see your text message." When you know that you did see the text message, but because you're not face to face, you can hide behind that wall.
This makes you overthink a response. So with a text message, when you look at that text message and you dissect the message, it's making you say, okay, I have to have a good response to this, or okay, I need a response to, make her respond, or make her question or answer seem like this or something. So you overthink your response. You could also overthink their response.
Right.
So
And so you're over analyzing what's going on. You're reading you're reading their message and you're overthinking it and you're over analyzing it. So then when you send back to them, again, it doesn't allow for on the spot true response. So all of this, whether it's a pro or a con to text messaging we feel should be used for informative purposes. It should be, hey babe, what time you getting off? I know you can't have your phone while you're on the floor. Call me on your lunch break. I got something important to say to you.
or
Or
also emergencies.
emergency. Well, I don't know, babe. I think emergencies you should actually just go ahead and pick up that phone. If
Yeah,
a
but if
text
you know,
message, I'll tell you a quick story. One of my best girlfriends, um, I was about to go into 2019 without her as a friend. And one of the reasons why was because I thought that she was mad at me for something. And I was sending her text messages that she never received. And vice versa. She was sending me text messages that I never received. The whole time we're thinking that the other person received this message and was just ignoring, if we thought we were just ignoring each other. So if it wasn't for me actually picking up the phone and calling her and saying, hey, we're too old for this, what's going on, we need to talk, and her saying, oh well, I sent you a text message, you never respond, and then me saying, oh well, I sent you a text message, you never responded. So if we didn't, I said that story to say, if we didn't pick up the phone, sometimes text messages may not go through. You never know what's going on. Maybe it was a network failure at the time or something. But if it's an emergency or if it's something that is very detrimental to your relationship and you need to talk this through at that moment, pick up the phone. And if they can't talk, then you send them a text message and say, hey, we need to talk, babe, when you get off tonight, or, whatever. But don't rely on the text messages, or you'll be less a boyfriend, or less a girlfriend, or less a wife, or less a husband. You don't want to be sitting in those same shoes that I was just sitting in a couple months ago, about to leave my girlfriend in 2018 because neither of us received the text message.
All right, now back to my emergency part. My wife cut me off, but back to my emergency point. I was just saying, basically, because my wife, she forgets a lot of stuff. So if it's something really quick she needs to, like, I have to take DJ to the doctors, or I have to take your daughter to the doctors, or something like that, just text me real fast, because I can't answer my phone at work. So she just texts me real fast if it's an emergency, so that she won't forget.
So here we have direct messaging, or another name for it is DMing. You may have heard someone say, "Oh, she jumped in my DM," or "He jumped in my DM." That's what that stands for. It's a direct message. So social media now allow for people, a lot of social media outlets allow for people to be able to send a message directly through whatever social media outlet you're using. So Facebook uses Messenger, Instagram uses, you go through Instagram. And so there's so many different social media outlets that allow you to direct message without being charged a fee. So sometimes if you're text messaging, you can be charged a fee, and it works perfectly. It says some of the pros and cons for it is direct contact. Um, these are just the pros here that I'm reading off for you. Is direct contact, and then the second one, can be contacted by others normally out of reach. So that simply goes, and it means that if someone is out of country, and you're in a totally different country, then they can contact you without having to go get a calling card, or, without paying astronomical fees, roaming fees, and different things like that. So the direct messaging has its pros to it and can be used for different reasons. Should it be used in relationships? We think not. Now another pro is it can be used as a form of online dating. Now, in today's time, online dating is something that is huge, is very big, and it is rapidly growing in the communication aspect. So, as I stated, direct messaging has its pros, and then it also has its cons.
So, as the first con, it eliminates the face-to-face contact. Like we said in one of the previous modules, the face-to-face contact is so special because you get to see the feelings, you get to see exactly how she's trying to deliver what she's delivering. Um, with that direct messaging, it's just via basically text message. You can't really like feel the words. You can hear them, understand them, but you can't really, get the feeling of the words. And then the second con, it allows one to hide behind an image of what is portrayed on social media. So basically, it's like a person, like if you see a person and they're flashy on their social media, they may have, the latest designer clothes, and always have their hair done, and their makeup's always on and perfect, and they hide behind that. Um, that helps them, with the direct messaging, it helps them continue to hide behind that. But once you see them, when you're talking to them or you're speaking to them in person at 12:30, 1 o'clock at night, when they don't have their face, when they don't have their makeup on their face, or they're not looking flashy, different things like that, then you could really see that person, if you understand what I'm saying. So there's many more cons. We're just going to go into those more in detail when we do talk to you guys face to face. Next up, we have emailing. So here are some pros and cons for emailing. So the first pro is it's professional. When I think of emailing in the professional aspect, I think of just emailing from work. I don't really think that you should email when it comes to relationship, because those same things that you can put in the email, you can put in a text message, or you can put in a DM, a direct message, or you can just basically call your mate. So the professional aspect, I think we should just throw out the window, because like I said, you can do those same things with a text message or a simple call. So that's that one. The informational. So you can get really detailed in an email if you want to send like a I'm sorry letter or something like that. My wife and I were just talking about writing letters. Um, so if you want to get real informational, an email could be a way to go. And then the third one is convenient. Instead of writing her a dear 4-page letter, it's convenient to just jump on a computer and then simply type that same letter that you would just write. That's the convenient part.
Yet our belief is that it is too formal for relationships. An email, if it's if you have a professional relationship with someone that you in the workplace, and you wanted to send that person an email just for the initial contact, we think that's okay. But after that initial contact, if you two guys see something going a bit further, it is maybe you guys should exchange numbers at that point, because to continue to email may be a bit too formal for the relationship. It takes too long to receive an answer. If you're anything like my husband, he text messages and expects a reply immediately. He does not like when he text message me or calls me and I don't pick up the phone. He instantly thinks, "Oh, something is wrong. What's wrong? Is my wife okay?" He's that type of person. So if you're anything like him, then emailing is not really good, because it can take too long to receive an answer if the person is not physically sitting at their computer or on their phone constantly checking their emails. Then you may not even receive an answer for days at a time, maybe even. Then it also, the message can be misconstrued. So and that's again with text messaging and with anything that doesn't actually deal with body language and face-to-face contact. That face-to-face contact and being able to visually see that body language, sometimes that is what helps you be able to see um that this is what he's saying by this. So once I see, it may be something that he didn't really mean in a meaningful way. Once I saw his body language, then that told me, okay, he didn't really mean that in a mean way, because he smiled at the end of it, right? Whereas in an email or in a text message or anything like that, you can't physically see that body language. So you can take and read something that may not be you may not have taken it the same way they wanted it to be portrayed. And then it's also a high chance of bounce back. With emails, if you put one letter incorrect, that person now didn't receive this long message that you just took your time and sat here and typed and thought about. They didn't receive it because it bounced back. And so you then have to wait to get the bounce back notification showing you that they didn't get it. And if you're anything like me, I'm horrible with checking my emails. So email has its pros, but it also has its cons. And like direct messaging and things of that sort, we're not saying that you shouldn't do it, but what we are saying is that there are um reasons and specific times that you should use these means of communication. This next one is emoji conversations. Now, one may say emojis is not a conversation, and I will debate you on that. Now, nowadays, depending on how old you are, you may have had a conversation just with emojis. Or if you have children, your children is probably having conversation, just with emojis and gifs. Gifs, which stand GIF. which stands for graphical interchange format. So if you have never seen a GIF is something that is may have just someone, just a famous person making like a face, or saying thank you, but they're not physically saying thank you, they're mouthing thank you or rolling their eyes up in their head, or something like that. So one can have a full on conversation just with emojis and gifs. They can be fun and interactive. You can have a full conversation. It's quick, it's convenient, um, and then there's some cons.
Now, here's the cons. It's not personal enough for a relationship. So when I think about gifts and emojis, I think of something real quick that I can just shoot to my wife real fast to make her laugh or something. I don't think when I think of like having a conversation with emojis, I don't think this is the way to go because of course the second one it can get misconstrued. So I can accidentally type a different one, like the middle finger one, when I was supposed to type the thumbs up one. And it's too late when it sends for me to say, oh man, I didn't mean to do that.
Right.
So I think the emoji conversation, when it comes to the emojis and conversations, we definitely shouldn't have conversations with emojis. But a couple more cons is too much thought behind one particular emoji. So I could be saying I'm not really an emoji like
Connoisseur.
yeah.
Right.
So I don't really know what this one is. The cry eye or the water coming out of the eye. I don't really know what those mean. So if I was to try to have a conversation with those things, I could be typing something that's totally wrong or not even close to what I was talking about, thinking I was saying the right thing or thinking I was sending the right emoji.
Yeah, or just like the emoji. I don't know if you guys seen it before, but there's an emoji that is like a blue face, and the teeth are like, like chickering together. If I could make up a word.
Chickerding.
And it's like so I assume that it's a freezing face emoji. But it makes you think, when am I supposed to use this emoji? It's so many different emojis. You don't know when you should use it. You don't know if you use it in the right tense. It's a lot, and it's just too much, and it's not for
Conversation.
relationships and conversations.
Right. And then the last con is there's no substance behind. There's no like real meat and potatoes behind just that one emoji. Um, so I mean, like we said in the last slide, there's so much more behind each one of these, but we'll go over it more in detail when we talk to you one on one. Next up, we have phone conversations. Here's a few pros and cons on the phone conversations. So the first pro is you get to hear the person's voice. So that to me is very, very vital. Hearing the person's voice, you can actually hear the feeling. It gives you a certain type of like what's the word I'm looking for, babe? Just a certain type of when you can hear her say, I love you. It's like it just feels good when you can hear her say she loves you rather than seeing the text of I love you. I mean, they're both good, but just hearing her say it with her voice, "I love you," is just. Mm. That's why I just like to hear the voice. I don't texting's fine, but that voice, woo. The second pro is you can hear feeling within the conversation. The same thing, just hearing that voice, you can hear the feeling behind, oh, she might be mad right now. I can hear the anger in her voice. Or, yeah, she really loves me. Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure as he's talking, you guys can hear the feeling and the conviction in his voice, and just thinking, when he hears my sweet voice,
Go ahead, girl.
what he thinks. So that is what we're talking about when we say you can feel the feeling and you can hear the feeling within the conversation.
Right.
You can, if one is smiling behind the phone, you can hear that someone is smiling. You can hear that someone is frowning. So there's a lot of things that you can hear in that. And sorry, babe, I cut you off, but
No, that's
continue.
fine. That's fine. That was beautiful. And then the last one is this convenient. So just picking up the phone and giving that significant other a phone call is really convenient. You don't have to think out what you want to type. Just pick it up and go for the conversation. So those things, just hearing the person's voice, you can feel the feeling behind the conversation, and then it being really convenient.
Yeah, and then your cons are is no face to face contact. You cannot see and feel body language. And again, there's that body language conversation again. So phone conversations are a lot better than emoji conversations, text messaging, emailing, DMing. Phone conversations are definitely a lot better than that, but it's still not as good as that face to face contact. That face to face so that you can feel the body language and everything like that. And then the phone conversation, it can be inconvenient, right? So in one sense it can be convenient, but on the other hand it can be inconvenient. You may get someone who maybe their battery died, like you can see in the next one. It says battery can die mid conversation if cell phone is being used. So and now we're moving in a time where landlines are becoming obsolete. So almost more than half of the population is using cell phones, in which we rely on the battery life. And so maybe that person battery is dead, and so you may have something that you really need to get off your chest and really say to that person, but now you can't because their cell phone is dead, their battery is dead, and their voicemail box is full, right? So phone conversations is better than the rest, but it's still not better than the face to face interaction that you get from your mate. Just being around that person lets off certain pheromones that allows for you to feel a certain connection. May it be whether it may be positive or negative. Our hopes is that is, most of the time and majority of the time positive. But that face to face gives you those certain vibes that you need for your relationship to thrive. So yeah. So if all else fails and you just simply can't get to this person right now, maybe you guys are both at work, the next best thing is a phone conversation, right? And then after that, you can move into some of the other arenas of conversating. But the best thing is face to face and then the phone conversations. And now for your accountability sheet, we want you to write down your top two ways to communicate with your mate and explain why. So, which ways works best for you and your relationship? We want you to write down those two and tell us why they work better for you. Then we want you to decide who plays the more dominant role in your daily conversations. We want you to decide on that and we want to work on that because that may be something we need to work on within your relationship. Then we want you to try one other form of communication that we spoke about and see how they work for you. So if you're someone who often text messages, we want you to just try picking up the phone a little more often or just try communicating more face to face more often instead of picking up the phone or instead of text messaging. We want you to try one of those other forms that we discussed and then just see how it works for you. Even if you just try it just for a week. The hope is that, once you try it, it works out better for your relationship and you guys can move on and that can help you become um, happier and more fulfilled within your relationship. And then attached to this lesson, we have a sample email that we want you guys to read and discuss what effects it may have had on your relationship. So this email is a real email that came from a client, and we want you to just read it and see what are your thoughts and discuss it with your mate. And just to see what you guys' thoughts are on that particular email in that situation. All right. So until next time, help us help you take the madness out of matrimony.